At the same time, the rural area around Delhi, which aims at survey, in 1994 had around 2 to 6% of prevalence against 10% in Delhi rural or in Calcutta. Today, we feel by 2021, the whole thing is doubled. If you look at the young people getting heart attacks, in the last 20 years, people getting heart attack below the age of 50 has doubled. And out of the total heart attacks below 50, about 25% of them are below the age of 40%. And among them, if they are diabetic, the difference between men and women has closed. They suffer the same way. Manually across the world, about 2 crore people die of heart attack today, and of which India has a lion's share. China loses about per annum 7 lakh and odd people by heart attack. Our numbers are probably 8 or 9 times more than that. The pattern also is that if you compare with a white person, we are likely to get heart attacks almost 10 to 15 years early. That means when a person is the breadwinner and the pillar of the family, he falls, and that creates a lot of growth to the economy at large. Whatever great achievements we have done economically, if everybody has to be treated properly in this country by the government, I think all the growth, economic growth will be eaten away just by this one problem. So this problem becomes very serious. The other pattern is that when we do the angiogram among the Indians and among the whites, the Indians tend to have more widespread blocks, triple vessel disease or left-mind disease. 5 years back, a major study was done for the syntax study, and the syntax study created a new novel idea of syntax scoring. When you look at a person diabetic, non-diabetic, hypertension, fat, not fat, and the angiographic findings, each point is given a score. Anybody who has come with cognitive blocks and his score is less than 32 is likely to go on medicines or stents and get away easily. Those who have a score of more than 32% will mostly need a bypass surgery. Most of the Indians who come with heart problems suffer diabetes. Most of them tend to have, if the syntax scoring is done, more than 32%, which is a bad news. The third bad news is that the course of the disease is more malignant, that the disease spreads and progresses very faster. Fourth bad news is that compared to the black and the white counterparts, our arteries tend to be small, and then the therapies become more difficult to handle. That is why a surgeon who is trained in India and then suddenly ends up being in the United States or Europe, operating the whites or blacks, he suddenly becomes a super surgeon because he finds it very easy, which he was faced with some difficult technical problems back home. Beyond that, what are the risk factors? Because if prevention is possible, that means we are capable of modifying the risk factors. So the risk factors why any one of you will get this problem are modifiable and non-modifiable. Non-modifiable risk factor is I was born to this father, this mother. One or both of them have this problem, or their parents have this problem. So that in Kannada we call it Hanevara, genetic. You cannot modify this today, but tomorrow, because genome sequence is now commercially very easily available in Bangalore, tomorrow we will be able to do genetic manipulations in engineering, then it will be a different story. But today it is not modifiable. I am male, I am not a female, not modifiable. The females are protected by their female hormones till the menopause, and so the males suffer more. I am old, I am young, non-modifiable, old people suffer more. Then the modified risk factors are quite many, and all of them can be modified. I am not very active. I am very sedentary. You can modify that. I am eating wrongly. You can modify that. I am smoking. You can modify that. I have got diabetes. You can control that. Control diabetic is like a non-diabetic. I've got blood pressure, I can modify that. Control blood pressure throughout life is like not having blood pressure. I'm obese, I can control that, I can bring it down. So all these are risk factors. I have got high cholesterol, I got high triglyceride. There is something called a lipoprotein A. And when you check the lipid profile, my lipoprotein is high. I can modify that. And my homocysteine in my profile is high. I can modify that. And I have drugs for that. So all these are modifiable risk factors. So today, one is aware that there is genetic history, party is over at 35. You start getting sobered up and you start getting checked in time, then you can modify these risk factors. If you can modify these risk factors, there is a possibility up to 80% that you can avoid heart attack. So avoiding heart attack is real. Now if you look at what happened all over the world, the Western people woke up to this possibility early and they started putting their house in order, and we are still not seeming to be breaking down. So if you look at Finland today is minus 60. That means whatever they had heart attacks, they have one minus 60. If you look at Sweden and United States of America, they are about anywhere between 70 to 50%. If you look at Canada and Australia, they are minus 25. Look at India, we are plus 100. Now that's a bad story. If you have to implement this, we are now with a lot of gusto, more energetically than the, what is the 14th February day. More than that, we are celebrating World Heart Day. World Heart Day started in 1997 was to bring out this awareness to you all, and whatever deaths were happening by heart attack, which was per annum, by 2025, bring them down by 25%. That's the aim of the World Heart Day. So, another risk factor I forgot to tell you is there is something very peculiar in South India. It is called metabolic syndrome. You look at the South Indians on the street, they have a middle obesity, they have a belly, and you check them, they may have a lot of them genetically high triglycerides. It will not respond to diabetes, it will require medicines. A lot of them will have diabetes, blood pressure, and there are 5 risk factors among them. And if out of the 5, if there are 3 are present, we call them as metabolic X or metabolic syndrome. And these people are almost 10 times more likely to get a heart attack than the counterparts in the society. So how do you prevent? So to modify the risk factors, A is diet. The whole bottom line is diet. Now, I may talk too long, so I will cut it short. Just Google and say healthy eating or what is unhealthy eating, and you will know what not to do. And so I will not waste your time on that. But basically, if you take a pie diagram and divide it into 3, I think 1/3 portion should be the fresh non-food fruits and vegetables and salads and stuff like that. Another 1/3 would be our routine eating of your carbohydrate, protein and all that. And another 1/3 would be a mix of all your macronutrients, your non-vegetarian platter, your dairy platter, and all those kind of stuff. So the heart attack prevention is a reality, and I told you that in the figures. The another, apart from diet, the most important is exercise. Exercise, the gym has become a fad. Hundreds of years, we Indians championed the lifestyle. And centuries after centuries after centuries, we kept on perfecting it. And last 70 years, we screwed it up. So the whole world is rediscovering what we Indians championed over a couple of thousand years. And I think it's time for us to also, along with the West, to rediscover it. So exercise is not necessarily gym. You could slim down your weight, do simple floor exercise for 4 typing for 20 minutes, or whatever, you just don't take stairs. You climb, you hold object tight for a minute, or You have your party, you have supper, have your food, go on to the disco floor, dance for an hour. Whatever routine activities, everything is an exercise. So exercise is very important. More and more gadgets we acquire, more and more lazy we are becoming, and more risk we are adding. And then the most important is smoking. Smoking is an all or none phenomenon. You smoke one puff, or you smoke the whole pack, or on a Diwali day you are jaggering, you are doing and you're playing cards for the whole night, and everybody around you is smoking. It's all the same because the trigger is pulled. Smoking creates more coagulability, inflames the linings of the blood vessels. If you have got diabetes, it makes it difficult to control. If you have got blood pressure, it makes it difficult to control. It creates a tendency for vasospasm, where if you have some 50% block, and now and then the artery is going to spasm and make it 90%, 99%. So smoking, controlling your weight. If you take your height in square feet and you take your weight in kgs, divide your weight by the height, you get the BMI, body mass index. It's more than 30 or obese. If you look at urban India today, urban India and metropolis, 42% obese, which is not understood by people. And that can be cut down, and it's very easy to cut down if you don't have diabetes, you don't have to have a very complex dietary regime. Then you can just simply go on 2 meals a day and go on to a 15-hour intermittent fasting. It takes you anywhere between 3 to 6 months to slim down. When you are slimming down, you may start looking old, so your exercises on the floor are very important. And then that has to be coupled with stretching. A simple walk, 30 minutes, 5 days a week. Beginning is warming, end is the cooling. Whatever exercises you do, stretching is a must, otherwise you will develop long-term problems. And if it can be supplemented in the end, the stretching by yoga and ending with pranayama, it can be a fantastic combination for both your body and your mind. Pranayama is a very underestimated, understated part of the yoga. There is a guy called Prahlad Rohn. Prahlad Rohn used to be the right hand of Dr. Homi Bhabha. And Prahlad Rohn retired as the chair of VARC, Bhabha Atomic Research Center. Prahlad Rohn is also, he is a Kannadiga, he is from the Road Taluka of Dharwad district. He is also the father of India's startups, the anti-missile program. During his active time, he got interested in pranayama because his scientists went very deep through all the scriptures. And after his retirement, he's full-time devoted to it. He is now 90. His son is a neonatology professor in the Presbyterian Medical School in New York. Both father and son have written a monogram, big monogram called Pranayama. The first 3 chapters are written by Nitin, his son. They are grown by the way, he's the cousin brother of Sridharmurthy. So the first 3 chapters are written by Nitin, his son, on neuroscience of pranayama. What happens in the body is there is a fight or flight response whenever there is a danger, be it animal, mammal, or a human. And there is a surge of catecholamines. Most of this mediated by a center in the brain called the amygdala. And this kind of surge is called amygdala activation. By exercises like pranayama, you actually create a situation called amygdala hijack. And it works like that. And the first 3 chapters, Nitin has written in great detail the neuroscience behind pranayama. There was in 2002 in British Medical Journal a paper published by physicians at the Royal Birmingham Infirmary. And this paper was trying to make subjects to do Eliot and Homer chanting. Eliot and Homer are chanted like the opera singer. It's a very strenuous breathing exercise. And they made 2 subjects into Group A, Group B, Group A chanters, Group B non-chanters. And at the end of 18 months, they followed them, they stopped, they followed them for 3 years, and they calculated their heart attack cardiovascular risk factors. There are about 20 VNets. And by a biostatistics test called chi-square, they calculated and showed that there was a significant decrease in the cardiovascular risk factors among the chanters. Now these are very dumb, simple breathing exercises by the chanting. Now look at pranayama, how mathematically precise the whole breathing exercise pattern is. So it needs to be rediscovered. And then apart from all this, simple four: diet, exercise, reduction of weight, no smoking, and then if there are any risk factors like diabetes, hypertension, etc., address them. If you do that, there is an 80% possibility that there is a reduction of heart attack possibility. You may still have problems. You can diagnose, you can be treated, but you will not lose your heart muscles, you will not go into heart failure, your working capacity, your career will not be damaged. And there are 100 ways today of accurately diagnosing and treating, keeping you alive, and you can get your quantity and quality of life as normal as anybody else. There are a lot of questions raised on alcohol. Alcohol, in moderation, a peg or two in a week, or a glass, 2 glasses of wine in a week, is okay and may actually cause vasodilation. So there's a lot of hype and drumming done about it by the alcohol lobby, which is very rich, and it can actually even manipulate the scientific literature. The downside is in India, a lot of hypertension here. And if you have alcohol, your hypertension goes up. In India, the habit is you do not have alcohol after supper, after your lying the stomach. And you have it before. And then you end up snacking, and the snacking is very unhealthy. So it might be a good idea to forget about it. Another recent phenomena happened is the COVID pandemic in the last 2-3 years. What happens in COVID, when you get a COVID infection, you get generalized inflammation in the body. You may get a mild infection and you may rescue the inflammation and get escape. But you don't know if you escaped or not. But I know of some senior doctors in Bangalore, avid golfers, very well-known people, I don't take their name, one of them especially very famous. And this guy got COVID, it was very minor, he quarantined himself at home, did not take any medicine, did not do any testing, became alright, went back to KTA. 20th or 25th day, wife called me in the early morning, he was found dead. Now this death, how do you find somebody dead like that? What happens is when you get COVID, you must get your inflammatory markers blood tested. The fourth wave may come because it's already began in the Western world. And there are some stray incidences in Bangalore last 2 days. So you must test your CRP and your D-dimer. And if it comes positive and high, that means though you are asymptomatic, the inflammatory cytokine poison is rising in the body. If it is rising in the body, it is creating more clotting tendency in the body. If clotting happens in small arteries of the lung, then you get a pneumonia which is very dangerous, and not like normal pneumonia. That lung will go permanently forever, it will be fibrosed. If too much lung goes, the man dies, or the woman. And if the less lung goes, it becomes serious, may go on high oxygen, or may go on ventilator, and may go on to very fancy ECMO, lung transplant kind of exam. They'll spend money to their nose. So if somebody doesn't die also, they spend a lot of money. This clotting can occur in the heart arteries. And a person like that who died in the night sleeping, there are 3 arteries, left front, left back, right. The left front artery supplies 2/3 of the muscle mass of the left heart. And if something happens at the beginning of that artery and the clot happens, and the last part of the lung heart goes, then that heart attack can be very big. So that's the lesson about COVID. If the fourth wave comes, remember that if you get a fever, if you are RT-PCR positive, you must get your inflammatory markers done. Inflammatory markers are significant, positive, then that's a different story. They're not, it's a different story. So with that, I again come down on the last 2 points. One is health check. If family is still there at a 35 age, wake up and maybe check every year. If there is no such things, I think after 40, 45, you must check once in 3 years. What test to be done is very standard, they will tell you. But there is a lot of hype about CT coronary angiogram. There's too much on the TV going on. No, you don't need all that. You just need to do a treadmill test, which is like running treadmill. There is no radiation, there is no drug, there is nothing else. And then do an echo to know whether there is silence or inside. That is just like me speaking to you. There is nothing wrong. And if there is anything suspicious or symptoms are suspicious, then we do something called as calcium scoring, which is just 1 minute very less exposure, and we calculate the calcium in the heart. And if the calcium scoring is more than 70, then we bother. Or if the bad cholesterol is high, we bother. What is bad cholesterol? There is low density, there is high density in your report. Low density is bad, high density is good. So high density more than 45 is blessing, low density more than 90 is a curse. So then we catch a story and we can catch a liver. If the symptoms are very definite, then we don't care about anything and we directly go angiogram. There's a lot of foolish propaganda going on WhatsApp that the statins have been discarded. No, that is wrong, that is bullshit, and people are actually harming each other so much on the social media. So the message is, do not try to learn medicine at all from social media. The almost 95% is wrong and inflammatory. And today, the vein grafts of tobacco are doing so well just because statins came on the horizon and they are risky us. So let's check. So the summary is that the old Indian perfected lifestyle needs to be rediscovered and lived accordingly. Every 200 miles you travel India, the food changes. Karwar is different, Gulbarga is different, Mandya is different. It's all local food stuff, but it's perfect. Gulbarga, very poor place. Perfect. Jawar and the tulda and whatever we do, you see the composition of protein, carbohydrate, everything is perfect. And the way we got up, the amount of physical existence, work we did, all that, everything, even the simple chanting that people did in the morning or whatever yoga they did, everything had a solid scientific basis and everything was creatively updated over centuries. So with those few words, I stop it here, but with the caution that we are lucky in many ways, but on this front we are unlucky, so we should be cautious. So thank you for calling me here, and all the best for you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vivek. Let me happen once again. This was the only moment when everybody was quiet. So you talk about matters in the head, which is very important. I'd like to call on Mr. Naveen Council, for Naveen to felicitate Dr. Vivek. Can you clap for doctors and for Naveen? The clapping also. Come on, we want to see everybody clap. Come on. Sir, I can assure you the last half an hour, what you said was priceless for everybody. Thank you, sir.
ಎಲ್ಲರ ಗ್ರಾಹಕರ ಹಕ್ಕುಗಳನ್ನ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ತರಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಡೋಣ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಶಸ್ವಿ ಆಗೋಣ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತಂದು ಒಂದು ಮಾತನಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನನ್ನ ವಂದನೆಗಳು. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ಕನ್ನಡ ಹಾಡು ಹಾಡುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಇದು ಕನ್ನಡ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಹಾಡು ನನ್ನ hobby. First, I got a chance to study Hindi. I came to India first in 1968. Then I started connection with India started. So I found a lot of I stayed in Canada and Bangalore in 17 years. I came back. So in total, necessarily 22 years in India stay. So in between I'm doing the job to connect two countries very closely, inviting more investment from Japan and giving a chance for the Indian entrepreneur to go to Japan. In that way, I'm doing and I'm still doing. So my connection has passed 50 years, now it is 54 years. lifetime work. So we have to maybe Japan and India relationship developed so closely. Even after the Meiji Restoration in 1868, it started. Our collaboration with India. Then he met Rabindranath Tagore, and on his invitation, Rabindranath Tagore visited Japan, followed by the Vivekananda. He also visited. In between this struggle fighter to make India independent, Ras Bihari Bose visited Japan and asked Japanese help to make India independent. Followed by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, we visited and we decided to. High-speed rail is coming up. In that way, it would be good that if we can bring another culture to India, and both countries will grow further. So, okay, let me start singing. So first, I'd like to sing.
Everybody join in along with him. Come on. He's really infectious. Everybody join in. Clap. Come on.
Come on.